Good evening and welcome to Cycle, a program dedicated to latest news and stories about Mongolian economy and politics. I'm Annar Qabatar. In accordance with Bloomberg, the MSCI Top 20 Index, which represents the main players on the Mongolian Stock Exchange, the only one in the Asian country this year, registered a growth of almost 130%, far exceeding any other index, followed by the US media. The MSCI Top 20 Index, which tracks the biggest companies in the planet's most sparsely populated country, has gained almost 130% in 2021, by far the best performance among the primary equity indexes tracked by Bloomberg. While a losing streak this week has some traders asking if the party is coming to an end, optimists see room for further gains. The gains are reminiscent of the outsized returns seen from the meme stocks and cryptocurrencies during the investment craze of the pandemic. Optimists could argue that the foundations of the Mongolian rally may be much more solid. The economy posted a 6.3% growth rate in the first half of the year amid an export surge of commodities including coal and copper, the bulk of which is shipped to China. The giant neighbor's insatiable hunger of raw materials has been the main driver of the rebound in the resource-rich Mongolian economy. Thomas Hugger, Chief Executive Officer at Asia Frontier Capital Ltd, says Hong Kong-listed Mongolian Mining Corp is the best performing Mongolian stock in his fund. The shares are up 225% this year. Apple Company Ltd, which produces vodka, beer and other beverages, and is up almost 130% this year. Returns of such magnitude may be a sign of confidence that consumption will continue to thrive among Mongolia's growing middle class, or a warning of a bubble. The company is the biggest listed on the Mongolian Stock Exchange, with a market value of $517 million. Osih Dilkur joins the company, which operates a 100-year-old Soviet-era shopping mall in the capital city, was up to 613% this year as of last week, when MSCI Top 20 reached a new high record. It has shed some of these gains in the losing streak this week, though it's still up an eye-watering 315% year-to-date. This is not the first time Mongolia stocks have performed so well. The benchmark rose 400% in 2007, and then another 138% in 2010. It also posted 5 straight losing years from 2012 to 2016. As the global economy grapples with an unstable and uneven recovery, and with strategists in major investment banks warning about stretched valuations in equity markets worldwide, a repeat of past hard landings can be excluded. Angr Piamchao, a broker at Mongolian International Capital Corp, says the market rally is likely fueled by a surplus of cash by locals following government stimulus to cushion in the blow from the pandemic, and thus may not last. The Asian Development Bank has reported that Mongolia's GDP is expected to grow 4.6% in 2021 on the back of continued economic rebound. Mongolia's GDP is expected to grow by 4.6% in 2021 on the back of a continued economic rebound, the Asian Development Bank said on Wednesday. The latest growth projection is slightly lower than 4.8% forecast by the ADB back in April. Major drivers of the country's economic growth include robust export demand, increased private outlays, as well as strong economic recovery of its neighbor China, the ADB said in its Asian Development Outlook 2021 update. The country's GDP growth is expected to accelerate to 6% in 2022 as COVID-19 concerns ease, benefits from the vaccination program materialize, transportation and logistics issues affecting exports are resolved, and domestic demand rises, according to the bank. The bank noted that downside risk of the outlook includes new COVID-19 variants and persistent border restrictions which disrupt exports, undermine industrial output, and keep inflation high. The President of Mongolia, Khursukhna, met with the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on September 20th at the UN headquarters. President Khursukhna noted that he personally participates in the 76th session of the UN General Assembly on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of Mongolia's accession. Rio Tinto is being investigated by the Financial Conduct Authority over claims it misled the market about its sprawling £5 billion copper mine in Mongolia's Gobi Desert. The city regulator is questioning those previously linked to the project, source told, ahead of potentially launching an official probe. Other authorities are also looking into the allegations, including the US Securities and Exchange Commission, according to a source. In 2019, it said it would need additional funds of up to £1.3 billion to complete the sprawling project and blamed the ballooning costs on geotechnical issues. But investors and whistleblowers claimed these problems were only a fraction of the cost overruns and that the vast majority were down to poor project management. The Mongolia problems will be the first test for new chief executive Jakob Stausholm's commitment to what he describes as impeccable environmental, social and governance standards. His predecessor, Jean-Sébastien Jacquet, was in charge of Oyu Tolgoi project when it alleged that Rio lied to investors, and the success of the venture was crucial to his promotion to the top role. Production is due to start at Oyu Tolgoi late next year and is expected to peak at around 500,000 tons of copper a year, making it the world's fourth largest copper mine. Copper is a key material needed for the green revolution, used in both electric cars and wind turbines. The area around the mine was investigated for copper reserves in the early 2000s, and Rio has been involved in the project for over a decade. The subsidiary company called Turkish Hill Resources, of which Rio is the majority investor, owns 66% of the mine, while the Mongolian government owns the rest, but Rio oversees all day-to-day activities. The Mongolian government has launched an independent review to investigate the cost overruns. Pendwater Capital Management, an investor in Turkish Hill Resources, launched a legal claim against Turkish Hill in the US, echoing the claims that Rio hid the real reasons for running over budget and behind schedule. Rio and the FCA declined to comment. The president of Mongolia, Khursukhna, met with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on September 20th at UN headquarters. President Khursukhna noted that he personally participates in the 76th session of the UN General Assembly on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of Mongolia's accession to the UN and expressed his gratitude to the UN for its consistent support and active cooperation in achieving Mongolia's development goals. The President of Mongolia, Ukhna Khursukh, addressed the general debate of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York on September 22nd. In his statement, the Mongolian president shared Mongolia's views on global peace, security, sustainable development, good governance, economy, society and health, particularly fighting and mitigating the challenges and impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. President Khursukh stressed that Mongolia's accession to the United Nations in 1961 and ensuring the country's independence and sovereignty and becoming a full member in the world community was an important milestone in its history. He further reaffirmed that Mongolia, as an active member of the United Nations, is committed to continue its contributions towards promoting international peace and security, fostering green development, combating climate change, and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The President also announced his initiative to make September 2nd, the day when devastating World War II that took the lives of millions has ended, as an international day to commemorate humanity's victory over war and called on member states to support it. Speaking about climate change, the President called to combine the fights against climate change with the achievements of modern science and technology, as well as best practices and traditional experiences, drawing lessons from the Mongolian traditional nomadic civilization to respect and treat nature with care and respect. In this context, he noted that Mongolia has launched a campaign to plant billions of trees by 2030. On September 16th, State Councilor and Foreign Minister of China Wang Yi met with Mongolian Deputy Prime Minister Sambuy Amursakhan. Deputy Prime Minister Amursakhan said that China is Mongolia's good neighbor and good partner, and that Mongolia sincerely thanks China for supporting its COVID-19 response, especially the provisions of high-quality vaccines. The 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly was held at UN headquarters in New York City from The 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly was held at UN headquarters in New York City from September 14th to 27th. Mongolian President Khursukhna attended the session. On September 20th, he held a face-to-face meeting with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. During the meeting, the President spoke about the 60th anniversary of Mongolia becoming a member of the United Nations. He noted that Mongolia has concerns about rising climate change issues, including desertification and soil degradation. The President also announced that within the framework of its nationally determined contributions as a party to the UN's Paris Agreement on Climate Change, Mongolia is increasing its mitigation target from 22.7% to a 27.2% reduction in nationwide greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Another main area of collaboration between Mongolia and the United Nations are UN peacekeeping operations. Mongolia has registered 4 military units in the UN's peacekeeping capacity building system. President Hursu expressed his interest in sending more troops in the near future. UN Secretary General Guterres acknowledged that Mongolia has been an active member of the UN since 1961. The government of Mongolia has been actively participating in the UN's goals and missions to combat the pandemic over the last 2 years. The two sides discussed other topics in the areas of humanitarian issues, future collaboration, and the 26th UN Climate Change Conference scheduled for October in Scotland. Inflation H coin, which was purchased at 0.3 Mongolian tugurs, has been traded on Complex Mongolia, CoinHub, Digital Assets Exchange, and Trade.mn. IHC coin is issued for a maximum of 15 million MNT per person. More than 2,800 coins were traded on the CoinHub exchange in 30 seconds, which amounts for $10 million US, and this made it one of the fastest-selling cryptocurrencies in the world. Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with the Mongolian Deputy Prime Minister Amursakhan Samboyan in the capital of Tajikistan, with both sides vowing to promote bilateral cooperation. Minister Wang Yi said that China and Mongolia are friendly neighbors linked by mountains and rivers, and that the development of bilateral relations maintains a good momentum. China has always pursued a good neighbor policy and is willing to continue to help Mongolia develop its economy and improve people's well-being. He noted both sides should continue to uphold mutual respect for each other's independence, sovereignty, territorial integrity, core interests and major concerns, and provide political guarantees for the stable and healthy development of bilateral relations. China will firmly support Mongolia's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, steadily promote bilateral cooperation and major projects, and create more growth points for cooperation, Wang said, adding that China supports Mongolia in strengthening its cooperation with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. For his part, Amursakhan said that China is Mongolia's good neighbor and partner. With China's help, Mongolia is gradually emerging from the worst in fighting the pandemic, Amursakhan said, expressing his sincere gratitude to China for supporting Mongolia's fight against the pandemic, especially the provision of high-quality vaccines. Amursakhan added that Mongolia firmly supports China in safeguarding its core interests, adheres to mutual respect for each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and attaches great importance to strengthening cooperation with China in the fields of economy, trade, education, and humanities. He also hoped that two sides will further strengthen high-level exchanges, lift the level of bilateral cooperation, and continue to strengthen the friendship between the peoples of the two countries. Aspire Mining Ltd. has progressed into the second and final phase of the front-end engineering design study for the company-owned Irtnet rail terminal in northwest Mongolia. The company is focused upon engineering, permitting, and financing the Awot coking coal project to mine coking coal by open pit, wash it on site, and then truck the washed coking coal to a rail terminal facility in Irtnet for delivery to customers in China and Russia via the existing Mongolian rail network. 5 entrepreneurs Идрот Батирдан, Эрхэн Баяр Баяр сайхан, Гантыг Баяр Магна, Мөнхжан Огт Бат. 5 entrepreneurs Идрот Батирдан, Эрхэн Баяр Баяр сайхан, Гантыг Баяр Магна, Мөнхжиг Отгонбаатар, and Мөнх Эрдэнэ Бүрэн Жаргал are seeking innovative solutions for achieving economic growth and elevating poverty by making cryptocurrency the main driving force for generating and bringing wealth into the country. With over 100 billion tokens orders fulfilled after its launch at 11 a.m. on August 25th, the inflation hedging coin, a new cryptocurrency created by tech-savvy entrepreneurs, broke the internet. Within just 10 seconds, thousands of enthusiasts invested $10 million in the newly created tokens, making it one of the fastest-selling cryptocurrencies in the world. IHC released 100 billion tokens, with 25 billion equally placed on 4 different cryptocurrency exchanges: CoinHub.mn, Trade.mn, Complex.mn, and DAX.mn. IHC has a total supply of 1 trillion coins, of which 100 billion are now publicly owned. It took only 11 seconds on DAX, 43 seconds on CoinHub, 1 hour on Complex, and Trade for people to buy up all the available tokens, with 2 of the platforms crashing and overwhelmed by over 100,000 visitors. Based on blockchain technology, Inflation Hedging Coin aims to introduce an ecosystem of financial services, including seamless transactions. IHC founders share a vision for creating a decentralized solution to combating inflation. Aspire Mining Ltd has progressed into the second and final phase of the front-end engineering design study for the company-owned Erdenet rail terminal in northwest Mongolia. The company is focused upon engineering, permitting and financing the Awat coking coal project to mine coking coal by open pit, wash it on site and then truck them washed. In the second quarter of 2021, O2 Mining Ltd was engaged to conduct a front-end engineering design study on the Erdenet rail terminal, coal storage and transloading infrastructure, trade-off analysis comparing capital and operating costs, as well as social and environmental impacts of alternative storage concepts and materials handling technologies, has now been completed in line with Stage 1 objectives. The preferred configuration for further detailed evaluation has also been confirmed. O2 Mining is now in the process of completing the second and final phase for the FEED study, increasing the level of detail and accuracy in design and cost estimations for the preferred infrastructure configuration. This is expected to be completed within the fourth quarter of 2021. The preferred location for this terminal facility has been secured adjacent to the Erdenet rail line, in a location where incoming truck traffic will not impact on populated areas and which has nearby high-voltage mains electricity. The local government is supportive of the intended development, and discussion and negotiation continue with relevant parties and stakeholders. Well, that's all for this week's cycle. We will see you in 2 weeks' time with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.